Kia ora. Now mai haere mai. Welcome back to the free digital tools for learning webinar hosted by me, Donald James. I'm from Te Papa, and featuring also my colleague and friend Jessie Robeson, who is administrating this Zoom call. So if anyone has any questions at all, you can put comments and questions in the chat or directly send a message to Learning Team in the chat. If you want Jessie's specific attention, you will notice that this webinar is indeed being recorded. So if you want access to it later, then it will be available for view on demand. It will be posted up on our website somewhere. So I will send out a link after this so that you can all get access to it and share it around. If you want access to the slides as we go, you can type in the bit.ly link, which is there. Jessie is probably also going to post a link to it in the chat for people to just click on for ease, which will make it simple. So I'll just give people a couple of minutes just to arrive before we launch off into the next digital tool. So earlier, if you were here at midday, you would have been part of the Mickey Maker with Game Fruit session, which we did at midday. That was a lot of fun. Had some great responses from people, which was lovely. And now we are going to head on to the most fun of all the tools, which is stop motion animation. I'm going to demonstrate a specific stop motion animation app that we use in the Learning Lab at Te Papa, but there's lots and lots of free stop motion animation apps out there. So you can use whichever one you have available to yourself. Excellent. Thanks for posting into the chat. It's great. Fantastic. Lovely to have you, Louise and Vicky and Patricia. It's great to see people using the chat to communicate. It's just a nice, friendly way to get involved. Awesome. All right, so it looks like the torrent of people arriving has slowed somewhat. We've got a nice, hi Marina, lovely to have you. Got 64 participants joining us, which is lovely, and Jess, I'm sure will, 65, maybe even 66. I'm sure Jess will keep people moving in from the waiting room as we go. So that's access to the slides. If you need it, Jess will put the link in, and let's get going. So we did the, oh, no, this is what happens when you have too many things going on. All right. So we did Mickey Maker with Game Fruit. Now we are going to jump into stop motion animation. It's a super fun tool, technology that's been around for over 100 years. So I'm sure all of you have witnessed the magic of stop motion animation for yourselves. And some of you may already know just how simple and fun it is to play with your learners, and maybe you're just here to see how other people use it. So at Te Papa, we use stop motion animation with all age groups and all mixed groups. There's not a kind of a minimum age that we can recommend for it. It's more to do with how you scaffold it as a tool. So stop motion animation is simply just the playback of still images, and if the differences between those still images are small enough, then you can create something that looks like movement. The app that we use most often at Te Papa is Clapmotion, and that's because it is a Chrome web app. So if you're using the Chrome web browser on the computer you're currently on, then you can search the Chrome web store for Clapmotion, and you can add it to your Chrome browser. You can also get it as an app for your phone as well. But there's lots and lots of stop motion animation apps out there. The reason why we have ended up with Clapmotion is because it is a Chrome web app. So it doesn't have to be downloaded like a program. And because it is a Chrome web app, it works really well with Chromebooks. And so schools who have Chromebooks for their students, they can learn about Clapmotion at Tabapa, and then they can go back to school and they can continue to use that tool. It's also the simplest stop motion tool that we have found. So it does the least stuff, which is really nice when you're trying to figure out what Clapmotion is and how to use it. There's lots of fancy stop motion animation tools out there which allow you to do things like add sound and add titles and add special effects and do lots of kind of video production techniques to the stop motion, which is really valuable if you're trying to create a really professional looking product at the end of it. But it means that you've got lots of bells and whistles and lots of noise in the user interface, which can make it harder for learners and first-time users to understand what's going on. So we have opted for Clapmotion because all it does is capture still images and then turn them into a video. So I'll show you that in a second. Some kind of tips around scaffolding it is that we always get learners to work collaboratively, like a proper production team. There's not a single movie or video out there that doesn't involve multiple people in some way. It's possible to create an animation on your own, but it's a lot more fun and a lot more interesting when you get multiple people all working together on it. So you can, if you have a group of learners, if you have multiple kids at home and you want to do this, then dividing up their responsibilities in ways to have them as script writers, or maybe you have them as character designers or set designers, or you have them as directors or director of photography, or you can have a lot of fun playing with different roles for the learners and for them to get a sense of the different perspectives they need to have when creating a visual story. So Clapmotion and stop motion animation tools are really excellent for visual storytelling and also for digital storytelling, because the output can be a digital video which can live in different places. And there's a lot of opportunity for fun, creative magic to be had. Excellent. Just checking on chat just to make sure there's nothing I'm missing. Lots of thank yous, which is nice. So a really easy way to scaffold stop motion animation is to use storyboards. This is something I'm sure that lots of educators and teachers are using for writing prompts as well for students. And it's just a really lovely way to get the thinking out, but also to be able to communicate for learners to communicate to educators what their thinking process is, so that as educators we know how to help them and what they might need help with. And it's a physical thing that they can point to. So if they're trying to problem solve, then they can say, I can't do this, and they can point to the thing that they're trying to do. And then it means that it's an awful lot easier to support them and help them solve their own problems. So that's how we scaffold it. I said in the last webinar about how digital tools and digital technology always needs some kind of authentic or meaningful context. And the context that we're going to be looking at or considering is Conservation Week, which is happening not next week, but the week after, and Tuikio Te Reo Māori. So with all of these digital tools, I will be just kind of roughly offering ideas for ways that you can use these as contexts for using these digital tools. So for stop motion animation, there's lots of things that you can do telling stories around. You can retell stories from Māori myth and legend, and you can create really beautiful scenes of natural environments, or you can use objects from the natural environment to create stop motion animation as well. So I have already set up my Clapmotion, and hopefully you can all see Clapmotion in all of its glory here. So hopefully that works. Jess and I were testing it before, so And chat says, oh, I'm going to carry on, and if it's broken, someone can let me know. So this is what Clapmotion looks like. This is the interface of Clapmotion, and as you can see, it is very, very simple, which is really nice. So all you have is on the left-hand side here, you see the view screen of what the camera can see. And my fancy webcam is doing lots of color balancing. So it's trying to make the background white, which is great. And if I want to capture this picture that the camera can see, all I need to do is press the space bar. There we go. And it's captured it. And my projects, my stop motion animation projects appear up here on the right-hand side. Tells me how much space I have on this computer, in fact. So I can make many, many stop motion animations. And I can move something on this screen and take another photo, and move another thing, and take another photo. So this is just some random objects I had lying around at home. And you can see you can keep on going and going and going. And it's nice just to let stop motion animations evolve as well. It can be quite a lot of fun. So my object has left the page. And you can play back. How have you got the Chromebook set up? Does it have a forward-facing camera? Can you link Clapmotion with a USB Bluetooth camera? Great questions. All right, so what I'm going to do is, you should be able to see my picture in picture. And I'm going to turn this one around. And so you can see that right here, I have a USB camera. And that's just looking down onto here. And this USB camera is actually plugged into this computer. So if you have a rear-facing camera on a computer, that's really handy. If you don't have a rear-facing camera, you can animate to the forward-facing camera, and you could set it up like a puppet show, for instance. Or if you have the ability to plug in a USB camera, that's great because it allows you to have a lot more freedom about how you place and how you set up your film setup. So you can take a bunch of photos, and then you can play your animation up here in the left, and it looks like it's moving. Simple as that. One of the things that I always like to do with stop motion animations is, and I didn't do it this time, is I might reset this and start again, is set up, always have an establishing shot. Because if you'll notice, when I press play, immediately the action starts. And that means that you just, which is fine sometimes, but it's nice, especially for kids who are just figuring things out, to have an establishing shot. So what I might do, I'll go back to camera here, and I'll start a new project. So I might just clear my scene, and I'll just take 10 images of absolutely nothing. So it means that now, if I play it, if I start some kind of action onto the screen, it means that it's, oops, it means that there's a kind of a pause, a gentle pause, before everything launches into the action. And so that's a nice way to let the story unfold and give the viewer a chance to arrive at the media. And that's just a nice way of considering who the end user is. Like, what will people experience when they watch the video back? So now I can create some kind of little story about a little snail that is going to appear over here. Could you use an old iPhone in a dock camera setup instead of a USB camera? It's all about how your camera, your camera interfaces with your computer. If you have, and the USB camera I just plugged in, and down here in the bottom right, you have the ability, I don't know if you can see the mouse over information, but there's a button down here in the bottom right that says toggle camera. And I can just, if I have multiple cameras available in Clapmotion, then those cameras, it will just toggle through. And in the Learning Lab, we actually have Microsoft Surface Pros, and they actually have an infrared camera as part of the camera setup. And it's funny because when you toggle through it, the infrared camera is one of those. I don't think it's actually infrared. Anyway, it's like a black and white camera or something. And you can toggle through the camera options, and that is one of the ones that pops up, and it looks very scary, and kids get really excited to see this kind of like gloomy, like horror movie camera staring back at them through Clapmotion, which is quite fun. So I believe that as long as you have the means to attach another camera to your computer, then you'll have the means to be able to use that camera through Clapmotion. But have a go. I don't have all the answers. I just believe that might be the case. So I'm going to continue on my little snail adventure, very, very slow. And the nice thing about this is that you can just kind of freeform explore what happens with different things. So there's lots of fun TikTok videos around about transitions. I don't know if people have seen that. But a really fancy Warehouse has some cheapest webcams you can get, but it's just looking around to see what you have at school or at home, as the quality doesn't have to be perfect. It's the process that counts. Absolutely. Process over end result is always good. It's about the problems that you solve along the way, and it doesn't matter about the quality of it. Also, Clapmotion, the way that it exports your video is always a lower quality than you expect. It's a bit kind of grainy and things, so it's an awful lot less about what the end kind of movie quality looks like, and it's about the creativity and the problem solving that the learners have. And we like Clapmotion because it's literally only one button that is involved in the creation and the interaction. So it means the technology is very easy, and the technology kind of steps to the side, and everything that we're doing has to be human creativity. It's not really about what the computer is doing. Would a document camera work? Maybe a document camera will work, and that's definitely something to try. All right, so we've got one little snail, and I could do this for hours and hours and hours. With Clapmotion, one of the things that can be really helpful is there's a button down here on the left-hand side, which is called onion skinning. And what onion skinning does is, there's a site that students can access that has instructions in kids speak. Honestly, Clapmotion doesn't even need any instructions. You just show them that they can take pictures using the spacebar, and because the creation of it is so rapid, they use their own critical thinking skills to determine what they can do to improve it. There's not really anything more than that than they need. Like, kids are incredibly imaginative when it comes to stop motion animation. Give them any object. We've had a lot of fun just playing with pieces of paper, and they'll cut out shapes and create things out of that. And they will start animating those shapes and moving them. So the onion skinning allows you to see what the camera can see and what the last frame was, what the last frame you took was. So now it means that I can see how far I'm moving things. And this is especially more useful when I have multiple objects in the frame. So let's just keep this moving. So if I have lots of objects that I'm trying to manipulate and move, then you can see which objects you've interacted with and which you haven't, which becomes very useful. So I can start adding more and more objects, making more and more complex scene. How do you delete a frame? Good question. Fantastic. I love this. All right, I'm just going to respond to questions. So if I do something like this and I've got my hand in it and I don't like that, I can click on a frame, and in the bottom left, there is the ability to delete selected frame. There's also the ability to what was I saying about onion skinning? Okay. Onion skinning is like looking through the camera and at the last picture you took at the same time. So it makes them transparent so you can see both. See how the shell you can see through my hand? So that's because I'm looking at what the camera can see and also what the last frame is down there at the same time. And so this allows you, when you kind of level up your animation skills, and you might have like, I don't know, 20 things which could potentially move on it. Then you can see which things have moved and which things haven't. So maybe you just want a bit of chaos going on. There we go. And so now I know I've moved everything. Hit that. Everything's just going to start moving out. And see that? So now I know which things I've moved and which things I haven't. And this might be useful, especially if I disturb my scene by accident and I actually want to reset something. Then I can see where it is and I can find my way back. So if you have a character that you're moving around and it falls over or something and you don't want that, then you can reset your scene. And so you can create things like that. So the ability to be able to use the onion skinning means that you can actually have a very high level of attention to detail when you're playing with it. So let's just make a big, all of a sudden, explosion happen. And so you can have conversations about things like, what about the speed of movement? So at the moment, maybe everything is moving very slowly, but I want things to accelerate. So how do I make things accelerate? And that's about how much they move between frames. I think it's going to fall off the edge of the page. That's fine. And this one hasn't moved. There we go. And that one, that one. There we go. And then this can start spinning on the spot. I don't know. I'm just making things up. I have no story to tell. I'm just playing with natural objects to show how beautiful they are and how I can make magical things happen. There we go. And now we can watch it back and see what beauty I have created. Yay! And that's the end. So you can see, you can just play with this and see what's happened. I was going to jump to the idea of kind of video transitions and the kind of the fun magic that you can create. So I could, if I zoom to the end, I could use my magical powers to turn this shell into this shell. And so I could use my hand to cover over the shell and totally eclipse it. And then this is there only one speed to play it to finish animation? Nope, I can change the frames per second. So the frames per second is down in the camera settings, and you'll see this FPS setting here. I can change that down to 1 frame per second if you want, and just make it look like a very, very slow slideshow. Or very fast slideshow maybe, and very boring, or I can do up to 15 frames per second. So 15 frames per second, so you can then have conversations with kids about like how fast something needs to, how many frames per second it needs to be to make it look like smooth movement, and when you reduce that, what happens, and that's kind of interesting. And also, how many frames do they need to take to make a 60-second animation or even a 10-second animation? And they'll realize they need to take lots and lots and lots of photos, and so it's lots and lots of work, which is great. But it's also incremental quantities of investment. So you can always add more frames in between. So I'm just going to try and keep my hand very, very still and transform the shells. So you'll see, with the onion skinning, interesting, my shirt has changed. I wonder if that will give the game away. So with the onion skinning, you can see I can place my hand back down to where it was before. Almost convincing. And then I can take more photos. And we can have a look. How do you add more frames in between? Great. So I'm just going to play this through so we can see the animation I've randomly created so far. Ta-da! I am a magician. I can do magic. So, for instance, if I got to I got to this point just before any of the little glass beads arrived, and actually what I wanted to do was show the shell rotating around a whole lot. Then at the moment, this option down here between the onion skinning and the bin is called insert frame. And so if I press the spacebar now, it will actually insert a new frame beside the previous one. And so now I can add a whole lot of content in between these. So I can have this spin around and spin around and spin around. And the opposite of that, because that's actually a setting option, is I can overwrite a frame. So actually, I could take that out and I could convert it into that shell. And if I press spacebar now, rather than adding a next frame beside it, it just adds it over the top. And that's fine, but people sometimes get locked on that and they get very frustrated because now if I keep pressing space, I'm not adding any new frames. It just converts it. If you watch that frame that's got the gray outline, nothing changes. I'm just capturing that frame, that single frame, by pressing space a lot. Can you add sound to your animation? Not in Clapmotion. You can in lots of other stop motion animation programs, but not in Clapmotion. So that's kind of all I feel like I need to show you on stop motion animation and Clapmotion. There's lots more to explore because it's all about your own creativity, which can be incredibly daunting for lots of people, but I have faith that all of you are brilliant and creative and wonderful, and stop motion animation is loads of fun. So if you just trust yourself, find some random toys or shells or whatever it is you have lying around in your house, and this evening, go wild. Have a lot of fun. I'm going to zip back to my presentation. And so for extensions, there are years ago now, in fact, we created a bunch of challenges, stop motion animation challenges. What were the icons at the bottom right? The bottom right, so there's toggle camera, so that allows you to zip through the multiple different cameras that you have available to you. You have flip horizontal the camera. So if this is my left hand, and if I flip it, you'll see I can turn it from a right hand into a left hand. And that is useful depending on where your camera is and what you're doing with it. So there's that option. There's also the camera settings, which is useful. Hi Dog, can audio be added to Clapmotion? Audio cannot be added to Clapmotion, but if you export it as a video, I should probably show you how that works. So I've finished this animation. I save the animation to video. And that converts it. Oh yeah, if you've got iPads, just go for Stop Motion Studio. Stop Motion Studio is really good. But you'll notice I've saved my animation to video. So now I have a video here, and you'll see it playing. La la la, da-da, I'm a magician. Lovely. And now from here, I save it again. So you'll see the name is different. And if I press save, that'll download it from the app onto my computer. And then from there, I can convert the file type, or I can add audio, or I can mix it up or do whatever. Yeah, everyone should get into stop motion animation. It's loads of fun. Saving is another thing. You just have to save it twice. In Clapmotion, save it twice. Save it twice in Clapmotion. Could you share the link for the slides as well, please? Jesse will be on it. And so we have put up a little YouTube playlist of challenges, fun things to look at. So have a go of whatever stop motion tool you have available to yourself today. If you feel like you have mastered it and you're having lots of fun, check out the challenges. That'll give you some more ideas of things to do. The playlist is also available in Te Reo Māori. So for Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, you can watch the Te Reo Māori playlist if you like, and that it has a bunch of wero challenges on it for you to try. For Conservation Week last year, we ended up creating and Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori, it's kind of both. We ended up creating like a baby shark video using a bunch of different stop motion animations of different indigenous and different native and endemic shark species and whale species. And so you can check out that video. It's called Ngā Uri o Tangaroa, and there's a whole resource there about using stop motion animation combined with OBS. And if you haven't heard of OBS, then you should check that out. But you can check it out by looking at the Let's Animate resource. It takes you through all the information, and there's tons of fun stuff there. You'll be singing Baby Shark like you love it all over again. Excellent. So those are there for you. Jesse yes, slides are in there. If you just scroll up a bit, we'll need it. Can I clarify? Clapmotion is for Chromebooks and Windows, but best if you have some sort of USB camera. It's great to have an option for Chromebooks as well. For iPads, I would use something like Stop Motion Studio. As Clapmotion isn't for iPads, we use iPads quite a bit. If you have iPads, Stop Motion Studio is better because the quality is better. So the main issue I have with iPads is having them set up in such a way that they are stable. And because if you're knocking on the screen, then you can unfocus the camera. And if the camera slips, then you lose the magic of that kind of still frame. So that's just kind of up to you. I'm trying to keep these to 30 minutes, but there's just so much fun things to talk about. So if anyone has any other questions, feel free to throw it into the chat and I will do my best to answer them. Other than that, get playing. We would love to get some feedback from you. So feel free to email me directly or click on the feedback form link and send me some feedback. If you make anything, share it with us. We would love to see it. Yeah, stop motion animation is the best. Just keep playing. Where will the recorded sessions be? They'll be on a website link somewhere, and I'm going to just email everybody a link to those videos when they go up online, probably next week by the time we've dealt with it. Great. And any questions, I'm very happy to get in touch. I'm very happy for you to get in touch with me. Yeah. Stop motion animation is great. You're going to love it. Anyone have any questions before we sign off and say goodbye? Other than that, we'll see you tomorrow for more happy fun times.